welcome to Technically Art Podcast. My name is Nina Petchprapa, and here's my co-host.
My name is Fernanda, and I'm a technical artist. And today we have a guest.
Hello there. My name is Virapot. Very nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, thank you for being on our podcast. We always love having guests.
Aw, thank you for having me here. Well, I'm actually really excited.
So, Virapot, usually people that we invited to this podcast were either a game dev or related to game making in some way, but you're doing something different. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I work in a CFX department, which if for people who don't already know, is creature or character effects, which we deal with the dynamic simulation on the character. So we do the dynamic simulation for the hair, the cloth, the fur, muscle, and etc. Yeah, and I don't know if in game industry have CFX, but it's I work in animation and visual effects industry.
Yeah, I was so confused because when Nina sent me like the topics, I was like, CFX, isn't it VFX? And I was like, what? Was that like a typo? Because like the C key is close to the V key on the keyboard. So I thought that maybe she had misspelled it, but then she misspelled it like in multiple topics.
It right.
Yes. I was
now
like,
that you mentioned it, yeah, the C is really close to the V.
And I was like, wow, what the hell does that mean? And then I looked it up in order to prepare for this. And I was like, wow, hair stuff. That seems complicated.
Oh, do you also like set up hair and clothes in game as well?
When I worked
as
at Amazon, I had to do some stuff with cloth simulation, but it wasn't really like simulation with vertex. It was more like joints pretending to be simulated cloth. So it was interesting. I did have to play with some parameters like drag, stretch, whatever. There's like a bajillion. It wasn't really my cup of tea, but it was interesting. I learned a lot.
Ah, nice. So is it like the in-game simulation?
Yeah, like real time in the engine. It was a really weird thing to set up. A lot of it was interesting because we had characters that the scope of the character was so wild. I remember very specifically, we had this character that had 2 mechanical wings, and the wings were connected by a piece of cloth. So that cloth had to move in between these 2 wings. And it was so difficult to get it right that we just decided to get rid of the cloth altogether. So that's a little thing that happened.
I thought you were going to say that you just faked the simulation or something.
No, those characters moved in all different types of directions, so it was not going to fly, literally and figuratively speaking.
Okay. Makes sense.
So what are you doing right now? I know you said you work as a CFX, but like where?
For now, I'm working for Scanline VFX in Montreal site as a senior character effects. So we do visual effects for mostly feature films. The recent work I worked on was like Godzilla vs. King Kong, Justice League Schneider cuts, and a little bit of Black Widow, something like that.
I saw you posted about this, I'm blanking the name, like the guy who's like a character in game.
Oh, Free Guy. Yeah, I work a little bit on that as well.
Oh,
it's such a fun show. Yeah, it's such a fun show to watch.
Is that a show or is that a movie? I thought it was a movie.
Yeah, I mean the movie. It's a movie, yeah.
Is it good? Should I watch it?
If you love games, I highly recommend you watch it. It's really wholesome.
Interesting. I know that Ryan Gosling is in it, and that's all I know. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, why did you go to school? Did you go to school here? Did you go to school somewhere else?
I go to the college in Thailand. Actually, I used to pursue music professionally in high school.
Nice.
Wow.
I used to play violin. But then...
Me too.
Oh,
Me
really?
too.
Oh,
damn, we can make like a trio here. What?
Nice. Do you still like practice your instrument?
No.
I got rid of mine. I played horribly.
Yeah, I lost mine quite a while ago.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like I pursue music professionally until college. It was at one point when I realized that the music career opportunity in Thailand is not very abundant. It's either to become a teacher, music teacher, or to play in a musical orchestra. And I don't really like to do both of them. So I was like, okay, what's the next best thing I could do? At the time, I got into drawing. I draw a bit, and I like games. I like anime. I like animation. So I decided to study animation production in my college year. And yeah, it was really fun. So in my college year, we learn the whole process of making 2D and 3D animation. And yeah, during the study, I discovered the concept of rigging. And I really, really like the technicality of rigging.
Rigging.
You guys like rigging? I assume that as a technical artist like yourself, you also work in rigging?
I do more than Nina, right, Nina?
Yeah, I'm more of the environment side, like performance and tools. So I try to stay away from rigging as much as possible.
Damn. Yeah, rigging is my jam. I work more with the animation, the technical animation side of things. It's fun.
Wow, nice. Yeah, it's really fun. Especially how you like, it's like a jigsaw. It's like a Lego, like putting the character together and in the end is able to move. It's like, that's a great feeling. So after I graduated, I had the opportunity to work in one of the good animation studio in Thailand. It's called the Monk Studio, where I was working in the technical animation department. So the technical animation department at the Monk Studio, we deal with several disciplines. We do rigging, we do CFX, and we deal with the other technical stuff that come to our way. For example, we also do a bit of crowd simulation. And it was at the time where I got to work on my first feature animation. It was called Strange Magic by Lucasfilm. I don't know if you guys heard about it.
Let me look it up.
All right. So this is the first project where I work as a CFX artist. And it was at the time when I realized that I really like doing CFX and I like it more than rigging. So from this point on, I tried to do more CFX. But because of the nature of the department, I can't really focus on CFX. So later on, I left the Monk Studio for the opportunity where I can focus more on CFX. So I left for the lead CFX position in the Riff Animation Studio, another big animation studio in Thailand. So I worked there as a lead for a while, and then I got promoted to a supervisor, and we finished a feature animation. And it was at that point where it's like, I feel like I know how people do CFX in Thailand quite truly. So I would like to see how they do it internationally. And it was a good timing because at the time, the recruiter from MPC Montreal contacted me. So I grabbed the opportunity and came to Montreal 3 years ago.
Did they sponsor your visa, your work permit?
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, so here I am today in Montreal.
My goodness. That's awesome. Gosh, you made a good decision in seizing that opportunity. So many people want to come here.
I think you got out of Thailand at just the right time too.
Yeah, the what's called the dust situation in Thailand.
The PM 2.5.
Yeah, the PM 2.5. I actually never experienced it myself because as I left Thailand, it happens. And whenever I go back to Thailand, I never encountered PM 2.5.
Really?
Yeah, so I never know how it's like.
Did you always like go back at the rainy season or something? So there was a lot of pollution.
I try to go back during December, Christmas time.
But wow, you work at like two biggest CGI studios in Thailand. I thought you only worked at Monk. Now I'm a little bit like starstruck.
Oh, thank you. But it's like,
That's amazing.
yeah, I am very fortunate because I got the opportunity to work for both of the studio.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
So I saw that you work on some like cinematic scenes for games too, right?
Oh yeah, we did that quite a bit at the Monk Studio.
Like Final Fantasy stuff.
Final Fantasy is not really a cinematic. It's actually a full CGI movie. It's
Really?
called
Oh.
Final Fantasy Kingclave. I don't know if you know about that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we kind of work on that.
I see. I thought it was like a cinematic in game or something like that.
Oh, it's like a complementary theme that goes along with the game. So
Mhm.
actually, if I understand correctly, Kingclave happened before the actual Final Fantasy 15 story. So it's like a prequel.
Before the kingdom went down and everything. Oops,
Uh,
spoiler.
to be
Oh,
honest,
we'll
I
beep it
never
out.
played the game.
Yeah, there's 5 emo anime guys in the car. Was it 5 or 4? Something like that.
I think
4.
4.
Yeah,
I
4.
I have no idea. But yeah, at some point, I might buy a window version of it and give it a go.
Nice.
I would like to ask something.
All right.
So as a tech artist, like Nina and I and a lot of other tech artists, we became tech artists kind of out of necessity and accident. So it sounds like you actually went into this knowing that you wanted to do this. Is that right?
Yes. Because I like to do rigging, right? So I kind of
Mhm.
like to do the technical stuff. And yeah,
Do you feel
I
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
it's fine. You go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you feel like you learned most of these skills that you have on the job, because did you learn some of it in college as well?
Well, in college, I learned a little bit about rigging, but we didn't get into much details in the rigging department because in college we don't have time to go into the specific department. So I learned most of the stuff when I was working.
Did you have like a mentor that taught you different things or you just went online?
Actually, at
Look
the
at
Monk
stuff.
Studio at the time, when I joined, they have
Mhm.
like the apprentice program. So we were trained to do rigging from the start to finish and also CFX from start to finish. So yeah,
Wow.
they train us really well.
Do they no longer
Oh.
have that anymore?
I'm sure they have it, but I don't know if they do it as often.
Hmm.
What kind of software are you using for CFX?
Currently we're using mainly Maya, Autodesk Maya, and
Oh.
we are starting to integrating into Houdini.
Hmm.
Houdini does everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Maya was powerful enough to like simulate stuff for like feature film like that.
I'm also
Oh.
surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Maya is a very powerful tool for CFX, and it has its place. Even though the Houdini now is gaining popularity,
Mhm.
I still feel like Maya is still a better tool to do CFX in feature animation because of how they deform the character and stuff in animation. We also need to do a lot of art-directed deformation in feature animation, and Maya is more suitable for that at the moment.
Interesting.
Houdini is more suitable for something like visual effects because of how it's procedurally do stuff. In VFX, we change a lot of stuff every now and then, so it's more convenient to do it in Houdini.
I see.
So that's the concept.
Interesting. I know so little about this stuff. I had like this weird, strong impression that Maya was like not a thing where people did stuff like that in. I don't know. I just have like this weird image of other softwares like ZBrush having the hair grooming thing, for example. Not
Actually,
sure.
most of the animation studio I worked in for grooming.
Like a
Well,
plugin of sorts?
No, it's actually inside Maya.
Oh,
I think they got it from Disney or something. I'm not too sure, but yeah.
but is the rendering for something like the Final Fantasy thing? It would happen in another software, right? It wouldn't be inside Maya, or would it?
That I don't really know. Because the rendering was done, I think, in another studio. We just used with the dynamic simulation, and we send the Olympics to the other studio to render.
Wow,
Huh.
lambics.
So I don't even know what they use for grooming, because we send in the curve information to the other studio, and they plug that into their own system and do the render.
Oh, interesting.
What the heck? That is so interesting. Yeah, I would be interested to see like what the curves look like, because I think I remember seeing behind the scenes for like Moana or Rapunzel, they have like the software that calculates the curves and the animators are controlling the curves of the hair, and then that gets turned into hair later on. Very fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I think Disney is another level. I don't think the usual studio can do that yet. We can kind of imitate it, but it's not at Disney level yet.
Let's see.
Not
Is
yet.
it just because of the resource in rendering farm, or is it the technology?
I think it's the technology, because they actually have the scientists working on their stuff and inventing new stuff, right? We simply don't have those resources. We can only
Yeah.
make do what is provided in the software, and we wrote something on top of it to do stuff.
Yeah, the Disney Research Hub on YouTube is like the most incredible channel. Like I would get lost in those videos for hours at a time, just trying to understand their video papers and just watching presentations. They did some really cool stuff for Rapunzel and Moana, and also for the snow in Frozen. That was really interesting.
Oh yeah, the simulation of the avalanche and everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, snow is everywhere there. Frozen do
yeah.
have snow. But they also do stuff for like the parks. I know that they have projects for animatronics that are also weirdly realistic, but I guess that's more Disney Japan more than Disney US. But very cool stuff, you guys.
Yeah, very cool stuff. And actually the technology we are using right now, if I understand correctly, is the old Disney technology. Like XGen is the old Disney technology.
But like we don't really use this anymore here. We'll have it be open source kind of deal.
I think so. I mean, sure, they improve XGen and everything, but it's an old Disney technology.
So, well, I was gonna ask if you know like difference between games comparing to movies, CFX, but I guess you haven't worked too much with game, right?
No, not really, but I can speculate a bit.
Sure.
So for me, CFX in game, or the hair or cloth moving in game, is usually you set up a character and you set up the dynamics, be it joint based or the game engine simulation. Then you try to plug it into the game and try to make it work in almost every scenario, I assume. I feel like because the user have the power to move the character around and then change the camera angle, it is more forgiving in terms of simulation errors. Because from what I can see in game, the cloth, when they collide with the body and stuff, is always penetrating, right? So I assume at this point that the mesh inside the game don't have enough fidelity to do a proper collision, or is simply a joint-based simulation. So it's not actually the collision, doing the actual collision. So that's my speculation for game CFX, which is kind of different. It's very different for VFX and animation, where the dynamic simulation is more tailored to the shot, because the audience can only see what's on the camera.
Right.
We have to design this simulation that works for the shot, and we try to realize the character vision as much as possible. So it is more art directed. There's a lot less room for error. So all the penetration, we actually, when we do the simulation, most of the time we have to do the sculpting afterward to make sure that the cloth is not penetrating through the other meshes and stuff, and looks good before sending it to the lighters. So yeah, I think that's the difference between the two.
Since you said that, the audience can only see from one angle, is there a lot of cheating behind the scene that like, oh, you don't see this part, so you just let it do whatever?
Definitely. if you rotate the camera, you can see the penetration, and sometimes it's a lot more interesting in animation, because visual effects, most of the time the character move more realistically, but in animation there's a lot of distortion of the characters to make it looks good on camera. Sometimes it looks fine in camera, but if you zoom it out, you can see that the arm is like stretching miles away, and we have to try to make the CFX simulation works in those situations.
That's interesting.
It's always fun working in animation.
I wish we see more bloopers of those kind of things. All we see is like actors on green screen, and then just like different layers on top, and then bam, the finished shot. But I wish we get to see more of like what goes to the effects, different angles, stuff like that.
I wish I could remember. I think it was like a Pixar animator talking about a cheat they did, and I think it was like the character was like on a table, and they wanted to show the head of the character like close to the table, and they like cheated, and they dragged the controller of the character's head all over to a different place, and it was like, wow, I'll never look at the scene the same way. I wish I could remember what video that was, but yeah,
that happens a lot in animation. It's really fun. Well, I don't think I saw any bloopers in visual effects and animation. It's just mostly when we do the simulation and it fails, and the cloth is like exploding all over the place, and that's the extent of the bloopers.
You said that, I don't want to like go into a different topic, we can come back, but you said that you also do a lot of supervision. And I do know that from what my boss tells me, that being a manager requires like, it's like a whole different job, right? So like, how did you get pushed, or did you like get pushed into this manager role, or is that something that you wanted to pursue for yourself?
Actually, it was at the time, it was out of necessity, because the team need a supervision and someone to take care of the problems between the department. So yeah, I was a lead at the time, and they thought I can do the supervision role, so they pushed me into the role.
Is it something like you have a direct report to you, and they give you like a scene, you give them feedback, and it's like a constant communication sort of thing?
You mean between my team and myself? Yes. Well, we got a chunk of sequence, and then we have to talk to the production about the time we have, and then I'll have to roughly calculate the time it takes for each shot. And from this point on, I'll try to assign the shot's difficulty according to the artist level. And if the artists have any problem, they can just come to me and we can discuss the solution and stuff. And if there is like a problem that the artist shouldn't be dealing with, like the problem between the department, how sometime animation send in the data and it's not very clean, I'll have to talk to the animation department and find the solution. And sometimes I'll have to write the tools to automate the stuff for animator, so they're having an easier time sending in a cleaner data, so the artist can work on this data with less problem. And there are also problems from lighting, they kick things back and we have to find the solution. So I try to screen those problems off my artist. Yeah, that's the main responsibility I had to do as a supervisor. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that your artists definitely appreciate having someone like that to guide them, because I can't even begin to imagine having to interact with all of these different departments and trying to get all of that coordinated.
Yeah, I just try to be helpful to my team as much as possible, because I had like a role model for being a supervisor. So I try to follow their example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone who would like to become a character effects artist?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, if you are interested in doing CFX, first learn how to use enclose and inhere in Maya. Even though Maya is becoming less popular and 3D is more popular, it's still a very good fundamental foundation. So once you learn the concept of simulation and everything, it can be applied to any software. That's my belief. And once you learn the enclose and inhere, try to make a test and then compile it into a demo reel and try to get into the CFX department in a studio environment as soon as possible, as early as possible. Because it's very important to work in a studio that has the pipeline. So you can learn about how data flows between the department, how CFX fits in the production pipeline. And then once you know all about that, later on, you can hack your way around to solve a specific problem. When you first get into the department, you don't have to worry about that. Just try to slowly learn about the pipeline. Once you get into the department, just focus on doing the actual simulation. Try to learn and gain more experience doing the simulation in the shots. Then in your free time, try to look at how the department is setting up the simulation rigs. Try to learn about the technicalities behind it. Try to learn the logic behind it, and try to replicate it at your personal machine or something. Try to set up the characters. And then once you do that quite a few times, you might want to learn a bit more about scripting, so you can automate most of the work you do during the setup process.
Yeah.
And
what kind of scripting do you use in your work?
We use Python to control the mail script in Maya.
Gotcha.
So once you get to that point, you will kind of have some idea what you like about CFX. You can focus on the thing you like. So because CFX has many aspects of it. It's like there's asset work where you set up the simulation rig. There's the shot work where you go into the shot and do the artistic stuff. And also there's the tools development, the scripting stuff. So there's a different path to CFX artist. So yeah, you at that point, you will know what to focus on and what you need to learn next. So yeah.
Do you get a lot of applicants for CFX?
In Thailand, when I was a supervisor, not really. It's quite a new discipline in Thailand. But here in Canada, I believe there's a lot of CFX artists, but we still need a lot more still.
Interesting. Is it the kind of thing where even if you find someone who's kind of mediocre because there's such a lack of it in general, you like grab them as soon as you see them? Or is there like, or do you think that there are things in CFX artist portfolios that people tend to get wrong? Like, what is something that people get wrong?
I never actually involved in the recruit process here in Canada, so I can't really tell. But I can tell you that it's more like the timing. What the studio want at the time. Sometimes they just want an artist to finish off the show, so they don't really look for someone with a lot of technical background, as long as they can work on the shots. But if they are like want to expand the department, want to do more of the research and development, sure, they will look for someone with more technical background. So yeah, I think it depends on the timing.
Interesting. Montreal has a pretty big film industry, right? I think it's similar, maybe even more than Vancouver.
I think there's more job than Vancouver right now. Yeah. I think it's because of the tax exemption policy of Quebec. That's why it's lure the client of the studio to kind of force the studio to come here.
Wow.
Because
I didn't know that.
That's what I heard, by the way. I'm not sure if it's all true or not. So you need to check the facts. But yeah, the studio don't really have a choice but to come here, open the studio, so the client keep giving them work.
So what
Huh.
about Montreal comparing to LA? Because that's also like a big film industry, right?
Well, from what I know, right
Uh-huh.
now Montreal is very popular, and in US in general, it's more like the head office, but they don't really have,
The production.
yeah, they don't really have the production power over there.
Huh.
It's mostly, from what I heard, they do a lot more commercial works than the actual film and animation.
I see.
Canada rules.
Yeah, I agree. Sure.
Get over here, Nina.
I'll try. Well, right now I already have a pass set, so we'll see.
Nice.
Oh, do you have dreams and hopes and other things for the future, like for your career? Are you gonna stay in Montreal? You want to come up or down here, I guess? Montreal, Vancouver? Is that one above, below?
Sorry, I'm not good with the geography.
Me neither.
But-
Like I just got here and I barely understand how the taxes here work. So do you ever like
Ah.
have plans for your future? That's a good thing to have plans for your future.
Well, not at the immediate future because of this COVID situation.
That's true.
I'll try to survive for the next few years, but I don't see myself leaving Montreal anytime soon. I really like the city, but maybe I'll try to move to Vancouver like temporarily and then come back to Montreal later. But my hope and dream, I would like to become like a CG supervisor.
Hmm.
So CG supervisor is like they deal with a lot of technical stuff. So I'll have to polish my technical skills quite a lot more. So I'm working on that. What else? Yeah, I'll try to make my way up the rank in CFX. So I would like to get back to become a lead or supervisor at one point. So I'm working on that as well. And yeah, I found a new hobby recently. So I'm making video for YouTubes and stuff. So yeah, that's quite fun.
What's your
Oh,
channel?
Well, my main channel is mostly Thai content. It's called BirdCG, BirdIECG, no space. So the content is more like vlog, story time content,
hmm.
and the main goal of this channel is like to get the information out there for the next generation of Thai artists. So I'm trying to passing down the useful information as much as I can.
It's pretty funny, guys. You should go subscribe. Well, it's in Thai, but you can turn on a subtitle.
I will subscribe even though I won't understand anything.
I also have a second channel. it's like currently I don't really have plan for this channel, but this channel is in English. It's called BirdCG, BirdIEGG, no space. So right now I'm just putting up like let's play game let's play video. And at some point I plan to translate my Thai content into this channel. So if you are interested, maybe you can check it out. Maybe.
I will check it out. I'll subscribe to both.
Oh, thank you.
Even though I won't understand 50% of the content, I will still subscribe to both.
Aw. Anyone who's interested in CFX, we definitely need more CFX artists. So if you are interested, give it a go. It may sound daunting with all the things we have to deal with, but this is a really fun department to work on.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable if people sent portfolio your way?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. So maybe I'll send you my email address and you can put in to the video description later.
Check the text below.
All right. birdcg.inbox@gmail.com. Yay.
Got it in writing and also verbally. There's no way to miss it, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming to our podcast today. We learned a lot about CFX.
Oh, it's my
I
pleasure.
had no idea what CFX was. I am so I guess I thought it was like a part of VFX. I think that's the reason I was confused. I didn't know that there was like a whole other not syllable, or like letter to describe that aspect of it. So this was a really cool learning experience for me. So I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me today. By the way, you are not alone not knowing what CFX is. Even people in visual effects industry, sometimes they don't really know what CFX is.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sad
especially in a smaller studio, they don't really have CFX. So yeah, that's the thing.
Today we learned something. All right, thanks everyone. Please
Thank you so much,
go
guys.
check out Bird's channel and like and subscribe. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, guys.